Hi guys, I hope you're doing well. As you can tell, I'm still sick, but I hope that you guys enjoy the Hispanic Heritage presentation that you watched today. I do just want to go over the pages that you read from Most Dangerous Game in class yesterday, so please make sure that you're adding notes. So right now you should have your packets out and a highlighter and a pen or pencil so that you're jotting additional notes. So, as you guys already know, Rainsford has fallen off of his ship and he has swam to shore onto this supposed ship trap island. Right, so it's late afternoon when he wakes up, so you want to make a note of that. Make sure that you wrote down that it's late in the afternoon because we have a new setting. He's now on the island. All right, but he's optimistic because he knows that he heard the pistol shots, so he figures that wherever there are pistol shots, there's men. But obviously, this means that he's also hungry, so he's kind of in survival mode because he hasn't eaten and he knows he has to eat. He just kind of swam through the shore to survive, and this is his main concern. But he starts looking at his surroundings. Remember, we know that Rainsford is a hunter, so he heard the gunshots. He knows that there must have been some kind of shooting that happened, and he realizes that there must have been some large animal that was wounded, and he notices that the moss was lacerated, like that there was kind of some roughing up that happened. And he notices that one of the patches of weed has stained crimson. Crimson is another way to describe a red color. So obviously that stained crimson is going to be some blood. Then he realizes that there was an empty cartridge around. He is a very knowledgeable hunter, so you want to jot down that he's a knowledgeable hunter. This whole area right here shows us that he pays attention to all these details that other people maybe wouldn't have noticed, but because he's a hunter, he notices. He also, when he picks up the empty cartridge, he automatically realizes what kind of gun was used. He says a 22. So he's like, wow, that has to have been a large animal because a small pistol isn't going to kill whatever this large animal is. So a 22 is apparently a lot bigger. He kind of imagines what the fight was between the hunter and the prey, or the hunter and the quarry, right? And he keeps looking at the ground, and he finds exactly what he wanted to find, which was a print of hunting boots. By finding the print of hunting boots, that obviously means that there is a human individual that is around, and again, it may lead him to people and food, and that is his main concern. So he starts walking around the coastline, and all of a sudden he falls upon this amazing building. It's an enormous building, lofty structure, and it's a chateau. If you guys don't know what a chateau is, it's basically like a beautiful home, but it's the French term for it. And it's high on top of these cliffs. There's 3 sides to it. The sea is underneath it. It's very beautiful. So when he first looks at it, because he's so hungry and tired, he wonders, is this a mirage? I don't know if you guys all know, but a mirage is something that people imagine seeing when they're in the desert, sometimes when they haven't drank water or they haven't eaten for many hours, so they start hallucinating. So he thinks it's a mirage, but he keeps walking and he realizes, nope, it's not a mirage, it's an actual home. It's really, truly beautiful, and there's a gargoyle on the knocker. I don't know if you guys know what a gargoyle is, so I'm going to try to look one up for you. Okay. So this would be a gargoyle knocker. So sometimes these are on very old school fancy doors like this. So that's what he sees on there, and it's another sign of how amazing this home is. So he lifts it and it creaks like that, as if it had never been used, and it closes. Boom! It falls with a loud bang sound. All of a sudden, the door opens, and it's the largest man. Okay, so there's a little bit of the chateau. The largest man that Rainsford has ever seen. So it's this huge, gigantic, scary guy that has a gun. So again, this is kind of like scary. So he doesn't want to freak out the guy because that guy could probably kill him. So he tries to be disarming, okay? He tries to remove any suspicion, and he tries to seem like, hey, you can trust me. So he's like, I'm not a robber. I fell off a yacht. He tells him his name, but the guy doesn't say anything. His eyes didn't change, and then he points the revolver at him. Okay, so he keeps trying to tell him who he is, but this guy is literally ready to shoot him. He's literally raising his thumb to the hammer of his revolver. And all of a sudden, he hears a cultivated voice, okay? A very refined, educated voice. It's not one of those like hippie IA country voices. No, it's a very fine voice that he hears that says, "Oh, it's a great pleasure and a great honor to welcome you, Mr. St. Rainsford, a celebrated hunter." So Rainsford is clearly a popular hunter. And the person who's speaking to him obviously knows who he is. And he goes on and he tells him, "I read your book. I am General Zaroff." So we find out that Rainsford obviously wrote a book, and that General Zaroff, this cultivated man who lives apparently in this chateau, knows who he is. So General Zaroff's description is here. Rainsford looks at him. He tells us what he looks like. He's past middle age. He's got thick eyebrows. He's got a mustache. Maybe you can visualize what this man looks like. His eyes are black and bright. He's got high cheekbones. And so then he tells the scary man with the gun to put the gun away. And so the man listens. And he describes the man at the door. He says, "Ivan is an incredibly strong fellow, but he's deaf and dumb, so he can't hear." Back in the day, that's how they used to refer to people who had hearing impairments and couldn't speak. So they would call him deaf and dumb, unfortunately. So that's Ivan's illness. He's just a big, strong man. And so General Zaroff uses sign language. See, he made him a sign. He uses sign language to communicate with him. So Rainsford kind of talks to him. He's like, "Is he Russian?" And he says, "No, he's Cossack." And a Cossack is someone, if you look in the bottom footnote down here, it says it's a member of the Southern Russian people, right? So then they start talking, but he's very hospitable, and it's very different from the first impression. They give him clothes, they give him dinner, they give him food, and he goes into this bedroom that General Zaroff gives Rainsford, and it is an amazing bedroom, huge. It's got a canopy bed. Like, it's really, truly a beautiful room. And then he goes to the dining room. So again, you can tell that this shows that General Zaroff must have some kind of money. He's walking down the hallway and he sees mountain heads of many animals. So obviously these are animals that are hunted. So we can assume that General Zaroff is probably also a hunter. He's read Rainsford's books. All of that tells us a lot about General Zaroff. So they're eating very fine food. And General Zaroff says, we do our best to preserve the amenities of civilization here, and please forgive me for any lapses. So they're obviously on an island. So he has to have things shipped to the island in order to be able to have food and keep up with all of the things that are there. So they're having this kind of good conversation, but Rainsford still feels a little uncomfortable. There's something about him. Every time he looks up at Zaroff, Zaroff is kind of studying him. He's staring at him. Think about if someone was staring at you. Wouldn't it make you feel uncomfortable? He goes on to tell General Zaroff goes on to tell Mr. Rainsford that he is also a hunter, that he's hunted all these different animals. He specifically the Cape buffalo. It's one of the biggest animals and the hardest animals to hunt. And then he starts explaining to him that he wanted more dangerous quarry. He wanted to hunt things that were more dangerous. So he tells him that here on the island, he has an animal that isn't there naturally, but he has to stock the island. He has to fill up the island with this, right? And so Rainsford says, "Are there tigers?" And he's like, "No, tigers are too easy." And so then he goes on to explain how he got into hunting. So we learn a little bit about Zaroff here and how he got into hunting and why he left Russia. Okay, so make sure that you have jotted down some notes about how he left Russia, and that he made some smart investments, and that's why he got a lot of money. And then he started hunting, and he went to all these different places around the world to hunt. But he started getting bored, and that's what he goes on and tells us. He loves hunting, but he started getting bored because it was too easy. Every single time he hunted something, he always got his quarry. He always got whatever he was trying to hunt for. So he said he had to invent a new animal to hunt. So I want you guys to start thinking about what this new animal might be. Take a guess, write a prediction on your document, okay? It supplies him with the most exciting hunting in the world. So he talks about how he's not bored anymore. And Rainsford is confused, and he's like, what is this animal? I want to know about this animal. And he's like, well, this animal has to be courageous, he has to be cunning, and above everything else, he has to be able to reason, which means this animal has to be able to really think and deduce ways to trick the hunter, all right? So think about it. What animal can do that? So Rainsford is like, but there's no animal that can do that. And the general says, there is one. And Rainsford, all of a sudden, it clicks. He's like, you can't mean, why not? I can't believe you're serious, General Zaroff. So what animal do you think this is? And then we're going to continue reading today in class. Thanks, guys. Add those notes.